This part 2 video in this series discusses prophecies and the sequence of end time events concerning Germany and China's moves and alliances to start and prepare for the Third World War. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. In part 1 video, I explained that Germany pays heed to Bible prophecy because they have learned from experience that the God of the Bible has constrained how end time events must unfold within his prophesied sequence of events. Bible prophecies also favor their plans to defeat the United States, British Commonwealth nations, and Israel or UBI nations, enslave the population, and occupy their lands. They rely on German masqueraders who are people of German ancestry living in white countries. They rely on German masqueraders, leaders in God's church in the United States, to provide them with their understanding of prophecy, the most prominent among them being Gerald R. Flurry, head of the small Philadelphia Church of God. We in God's Church received our original understanding of Bible prophecy from Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong, through whom God founded the modern era of his church. Mr. Armstrong passed away on January 16, 1986. Since then, our understanding of prophecy has increased, but also diverged from what Gerald Flurry understands to be the sequence of end time events and what I understand to be the sequence. The reason for the divergence is the message God delivered to me through an angel in October 1998. There are three essential differences in our understanding of prophecy. The first difference is in our understanding of the sequence of end time events. According to Mr. Flurry, the attack of the King of the North, which is a German-led alliance, on the King of the South, as mentioned in Daniel 11 verses 40 to 44, takes place first, followed by the attack of the German-led alliance on the United States, Britain, and Israel to defeat and enslave them during the 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation. According to the message delivered to me by God's angel, the attack of the King of the North on the King of the South takes place after the UBI nations have already been defeated and are in the Great Tribulation. We are in agreement in our understanding of the identity of the King of the North, which is a German-led alliance. Our second difference is in the identity of the King of the South. Gerald Flurry is confident that Iran is the King of the South. I am not so sure. The Bible does not identify the country of the King of the South. While I'm not ruling out Iran-led Islamic alliance, it's possible that the leader could come from Egypt or Turkey based on the nations identified in Psalm 83 that are allied with Germany. Third difference in our understanding of prophecy is what the term Babylon refers to in end-time prophecy. Gerald Flurry and the Masquerader prophets believe it refers to the geographical area that was anciently known as Babylon, which includes the modern territories of Iraq, parts of Syria, Lebanon, and parts of northwestern Iran. Therefore, according to them, the prophesied destruction of Babylon means defeat of the ruler in the territory anciently known as Babylon. I believe Babylon refers to the seventh and final resurrection of the Holy Roman Empire, with the military and political power in the hands of German-led Europe and the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church being its religious head. Therefore, the destruction of Babylon means the destruction of the Holy Roman Empire, first at the hands of a 200 million man army of Eastern nations, and then by Jesus Christ after his return to earth. The Germans tried to fulfill these prophecies according to the Masquerader understanding. They helped set up ISIS in Iraq and Syria in the geographical territory of ancient Babylon. ISIS is Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. After ISIS committed many atrocities, the German plan was to attack and destroy it. Their hope was that they would fulfill two prophecies by doing so. They, as the king of the north, would destroy the king of the south, who would be the ISIS leader. At the same time, they would destroy Babylon. If they succeeded, that would mean that they would not be destroyed after they defeat the UBI nations and would be able to occupy their lands in perpetuity. The Germans are guided by Satan. Satan did not give them permission to attack and destroy ISIS. Therefore, the German attempt to fulfill prophecy according to interpretations given by German masquerader prophets did not succeed. Because of this experience, they now pay attention to my interpretations of prophecy and the sequence of events I have provided based on God's message to me delivered by an angel. They now know that prophecies have to be fulfilled according to the sequence God has provided. The Germans and the Chinese would still like to fulfill prophecies according to what Gerald Furry and other masquerader prophets are telling them, because it would be favorable to them. They would destroy Babylon by destroying the entity ruling in the geographical area of ancient Babylon and destroy the king of the south, at the same time fulfilling these prophecies. That would mean that after they defeat the UBI nations, they can take over their lands in perpetuity, because the prophecy concerning destruction of Babylon would already have been fulfilled. They may try to revive ISIS in Iraq and Syria for this purpose, but this would be a foolhardy enterprise. God controls the sequence of events and not Satan. That's why such attempts will not succeed, no matter how many times they try. I've always laughed at these attempts because they are contrary to the sequence of events revealed to me. We also need to know that the individual who will eventually be known as the King of the South has not emerged yet. We may know his identity only after the Great Tribulation has already begun, after the defeat of the UBI nations, as I have indicated in my ebook World in Bible Prophecy, available free on my religion website www.churchofgodmessage.com. Therefore, Islamic nations will individually support the German-led alliance to defeat the UBI nations, and not in a grand alliance of their own under a great king of the south. But I am not ruling out a leader emerging before the defeat of the UBI nations. This could happen during the economic siege of the UBI nations. Now let's look at the alliance partners of the Germans according to Psalm 83. From Ezekiel 5 verses 1 to 2, we know that the defeat of the UBI nations is preceded by an economic siege. The siege will show to nations in the Middle East and Africa that the UBI nations are vulnerable. Then the dictum "nothing succeeds like success" will apply. Most of the Muslim nations will jump in. As siege and civil wars begin, the Muslims will be emboldened to lend their armies for the effort. But till then, expecting them to take on the United States and the weapons they have would be sticking their necks out to get slaughtered. My advice to Xi Jinping and Frank-Walter Steinmeier of Germany is to not keep reverting to their bad habit of trying to inveigle other nations to join the USA in hopes of weakening it so much that they can just topple it over with a small nudge and walk into their lands and occupy them. Stop trying to fish in pea puddles. Let me reiterate the sequence of end-time events based on God's message delivered to me by an angel. The first event in the sequence of events is the Third World War. When the Third World War against the UBI nations is being fought on the outside, it will ignite civil wars in UBI nations. The civil wars could be of a few months' duration or even longer than a year. Secondly, as part of the Third World War, an economic siege of the UBI nations will also begin, as per prophecy in Ezekiel 5 verse 2, which states, "You shall burn with fire a third part in the midst of the city when the days of the siege are fulfilled. And you shall take a third part and smite about it with a knife, and a third part you shall scatter in the wind, and I will draw out a sword after them. This is how African and Middle East nations will get involved in the war against the United States. It would be foolish of Steinmeier and Xi Jinping to expect these nations to take on the might of the USA on their own. That is how the Psalm 83 alliance against UBI nations will begin to take shape. Psalm 83 alliance consists of Germany allied with the countries of or entities within Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestinians, and Arabs. Among the Arabs could be entities from the Arabian Peninsula as well as North Africa such as Egypt, Sudan, Libya, and others. Now Daniel 11:40-43 indicates Ethiopia also ultimately being part of the King of the South alliance. The word Ethiopia means black. Therefore, we should not restrict ourselves by merely including the country of Ethiopia in the alliance. It could mean other African nations being part of the alliance, particularly around the Red Sea, which Germany and China could use for their economic siege operations against UBI nations. Number 3. Economic siege means that trade with the UBI nation will come to a virtual stop. That will mean that dollar-denominated trade will become negligible. Literally within a few months, dollar could cease to be a reserve currency in the world, replaced by mainly the euro. Even the civil war will have led to a financial and banking crisis automatically in the UBI nations as people and businesses will be unable to pay their loans. Number 4. The German-led European alliance is to consist of 10 rulers, as stated in Revelation 17 verses 12 to 14. It says, "The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet, but they receive authority for 1 hour as kings with the beast. These are of one mind, and they will give their power and authority to the beast," that is the German leader. "These will make war with the Lamb, which is Jesus Christ, and the Lamb will overcome them, for he is the head of heads and Lord of lords and King of kings. And those who are with him are called chosen and faithful." It's possible that Germany has already been successful in having most German masqueraders elected as presidents or prime ministers of most of the bigger European nations, who will give their total allegiance to the German ruler when the time comes to attack the UBI nations. Number 5. When the UBI nations have been weakened due to the economic siege and the civil wars within them, then the German-led alliance, which will include Europe, Islamic and African nations, per Psalm 83, and likely other nations such as China and India will attack and defeat them. Now it is possible that a leader among the Islamic African nations alliance could have emerged during the economic siege before they attacked the UBI nations in alliance with German-led Europe. If not, then after the defeat of the UBI nations, a leader uniting all nations mentioned in Psalm 83 and Daniel 11:40-43 will emerge as the King of the South, who will push at German-led Europe about 2 years into the Great Tribulation, because Europe is taking all the rewards of victory by controlling world trade, leading to an attack by the King of the North after about 6 months. Isaiah 23 verses 1-3 mention a mart of nations. The burden of Tyre, which is another representative name for the end-time Babylonian system. The burden of Tyre. How will you ships of Tarshish? Tarshish is Japan, for it is laid waste, so that there is no house nor entering in from the land of Shittim, that is China. It is revealed to them. Be still, you inhabitants of the isle, which refers to Japan. You whom the merchants of Zidon refers to allies of the Babylonian system, that pass over the sea, have replenished, and by great waters the seed of Sihor The harvest of the river is her revenue, and she is a mart of nations. This prophecy indicates that a mart of nations being a trading system that includes the Euro-based Babylon, the Holy Roman Empire, a religious, political, and military and commercial system formed by a union of 10 nations or entities, China, Japan, and other nations. The system will be destroyed by Jesus Christ when he returns to earth, but the kind of goods it will trade in and its riches are described in Revelation 18 verses 9 to 20, which states, "The king of the earth who committed fornication," that's spiritual fornication, meaning followed her religion, "and lived luxuriously with her, fall asleep and lament for 1 year, when they see the smoke of the burning, astounding at a distance for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come. And the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, for no one buys their merchandise anymore. Merchandise of gold and silver, precious stones and pearls, fine linen and purple, silk and scarlet, every kind of citron wood, every kind of object of ivory, every kind of object of most precious bronze, wood, iron, marble, and cinnamon and incense, fragrant oil and frankincense, wine and oil, fine flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and chariots, the bodies and souls of men. For in 1 hour such great riches came to nothing. Every shipmaster, all who travel by ship, sailors, and as many as trade on the sea, stood at a distance, and cried out when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What is like this great city? They threw dust on their heads and cried out, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city, in which all who had ships on the sea became rich by her wealth, for in 1 hour she is made desolate. Now the mart of nations already exists to some degree, with Germany, Europe, China, Japan, India, and other BRICS nations already being part of it. But this trading system will dominate world trade within a few months of the economic siege of the UBI nations, because when very little trade is being conducted by the UBI nations, obviously Europe will become the center of the global trading system. This global trading system will dominate the world during the economic siege of the UBI nations, which could last 4 to 24 months, and then during the 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation, or a total of 4 to 6 years. That's enough time for nations to become rich by trading with Europe, as described in Revelation 18. In part 3 video, I will discuss what new moves China, Germany, and India are making or could make to start the Third World War. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, how Bible prophecy is playing an important role in world affairs, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, to view and get information on the latest videos.